here for two variances. One is for a 4-story building. So, and then also a front setback of 64 feet of building. 10 foot.
Hold on for 1 second, sorry. Okay. It's okay.
This is just showing that our project location there on the left-hand side. It's located in the mixed use neighborhood edge zoning district. This is just an aerial of the project site. They're contained in the red box. That's the existing primary school. Part of in that box, and then you got their parking lot, and as you work your way south, it is a vacant funeral home. There would be long parking lot in the back, asphalt parking lot. And so there's two family dwellings. They've been vacant since 2016. Across the street with the white roof in the upper center of the screen is the Kid Middle School. And over there on the left side of the screen is the Littleton School apartments. This is a massing diagram of the site. In the foreground is the existing Livingston School apartments. As we work from left to right, you'll see the existing Kid Middle School, the existing primary school, and then a rendering there in the center of the page, the proposed Kid High School. A proposed grade of the new high school is going to be sitting about 4 feet lower than the existing Livingston apartments. The top of the flat roof of the Livingston School apartments is about 56 feet, and the top of the gable roof is approximately 70 feet. The height of the proposed high school is 56 feet. Grade. Of the due diligence of the project, we had a geotechnical report completed in December of 2022. Several findings came out of that report. One is the building will be designed for slab on grade. Also, due to the steep slopes in the rear of the property, a steep slope stability setback line was established. And based on that line, the building construction did not take place downslope of that line. I'll show you that in future slides. The same thing with the stormwater, that should not be directed towards the rear slope. So here's of the overall site plan. That yellow dashed line that you see that kind of cuts through the center, that is the safe slope stability setback line. So our proposed building is to the left of that line. Also, as a result of the Terracon report, is to redirect the stormwater towards the front of the property. So we're collecting it in a series of catch basins and piping, bringing it around to the south side of the building for infiltration, and then along the frontage for underground detention before releasing it into the city system. So we're utilizing that front space for the underground detention. That's why we're kind of pushing the building back a little bit. So you can have that in the front of the property to keep any stormwater away from the rear and any further issues with that steep slope. These are quickly just the elevations of the building. Like I said, we're proposing 4 stories. The first 2 stories will be masonry construction to mimic the existing primary school and the middle school, and also the Livingston School apartments. And then the upper 2 floors will be metal and glass panels. These are just the other 3 elevations of the school. So based on some feedback that we received from the last meeting, as part of this project, we're proposing to install no idling signs along the bus drop-off area in the front of the building, just so when buses come there, more likely in the PM pickup area, because in the morning they'll just be coming in, dropping off and parting. In the PM, if they come in early, they'll park there, they'll have to shut off their engine and then restart once the kids are dismissed and are ready to leave the school. Also, we were able to push the driveway over a little bit further. We are now have a 10-foot grass buffer in between the property line and where the driveway starts. So now we're 40, the building is now 42-foot setback off that property line. And then I'll also get into future slides to show you the proposed landscaping along that southern boundary as well. So this is our landscaping. The trees that you see on the left side and the scarlet oak, those are proposed along the frontage of the property, also within the parking lot. And the northern white cedar, what we're proposing with a vinyl fence. The southern property line, this would be the property line that's closest to the nearest residential boundary. This is a rendering of that south property line. The plantings will be on, everything will still be on KIT property. The plantings will be on the residential side of the fence. And then see the fence will be facing the KIT school. This is the proposed traffic circulation for the high school. This is a question that came up at the last meeting. So in red is the bus route. The buses will be utilizing the unsignalized intersection on the south of the property. We'll be coming in, dropping the kids off in front of the school, and then going to the signalized intersection to depart. If there's a queue of school buses at that south entrance, if you look at the magenta line, the buses will be directed to utilize then the signalized intersection and loop around the building and would then queue internally on the south side of the school, wait their turn, make the right to then drop off the kids. This will prevent any buses with the potential of blocking any of the road or driveways along the heights, and it'll give them a chance to get within the school property and stay there prior to dropping the kids off. Also, the parent pickup and drop off, the main entrance for them will also be the unsignalized intersection. They'll be coming in utilizing the back of the building, and also there's 3 lanes to the north also for the primary school, and then they would then exit out the signalized intersection. We're working with the city and coordinating the work with the traffic signal at that northernmost intersection. We're proposing to widen. Right now, it's currently the egress of the primary school. We propose to widen that and make it a total of 3 lanes, 1 lane coming in and 2 lanes coming out, or right only, and then a straight and a left. We'll also be coordinating with the city on the light installations for any restriping that may be needed at that intersection during the signal design. Like I said, this is the mitigation. There will be a traffic signal being placed there by the city. We'll be widening the driveway, adding some extra lanes in through there, and also coordinate the striping within the W Heights right of way. This is the existing setbacks of the buildings. I'm gonna have to cheat and look at my here, because I can't read that. So the existing Kit Middle School. So the question at the last meeting is, what is the setback of the existing structure on the property and the two schools? So looking at it, the Kit Middle School is 17 feet from the front property line. The Kit Primary School addition is 12 feet. The primary school itself is 20. The funeral home there, that's the building you see right in the corner, yeah, is 30 feet. The first two family dwellings 36, and then the second two family dwelling is 26. That just kind of just provides you an idea of what they are currently compared to what we are proposing. And that's all we have. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Going to the exact thing. At first, that was very. Are we redoing what we have heard last week?
No, I tried to do a quick little
Summary, yeah.
recap and then added the two things based on our communication at that last meeting.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Any questions?
So you mentioned that the site plan includes the no idling staff and no idling allowed signs.
Yeah.
Just curious of the 5 factors for an area variance, which factor does that speak to?
Or environmental, it's actually a state law where buses can't idle for more than 5 minutes.
Okay.
Anyhow. So by state law, they should be shutting it down. We were having the signs to remind the bus drivers, and this is a policy or procedure that KIPP has used on other campuses that they have. So we're just going to be implementing that on the site as well.
We'll do that. This is the traffic. So I think first, I want to appreciate the changes made to the proposed project based on our exchange at the last meeting. I think especially, which this map is not necessarily specifically relevant to that, but I think the increased space on this along the border of the residential properties, I'm sure is appreciated by the owners of the property, and I think helps mitigate some of the environmental impact to those properties. Helps with the character of the neighborhood. So the change in the traffic. So the buses make the right and then the left immediately. If there's a long line of buses and they can't make the left,
They'll be
they'll
be
down.
directed to use the signalized intersection. So
They don't go in instead.
correct. If that's full, they'll be going up to the signalized intersection where you see a magenta and be looping around.
Okay.
Then you'll be queuing on the south side of the building, waiting for that to clear, and then they'll come in and make the right and drop the kids off.
Oh. And then the blue is showing parents being allowed to also use this entrance, that they would come in and access the parking area
Correct.
through there. Okay.
This has been provided to Bill Trudeau at the traffic department, and he's currently currently we're doing it with it.
Yeah, there was a meeting organized by planning with Bill Chabot, that I attended, so, he mentioned that he's been working with the IAC, confirmed that the city is planning to put a traffic light there, that there's a kind of motion for that, so, and that I think unless you disagree, and maybe you want to add anything to the summary, but I think in substance, Bill Trudeau's assessment to planning myself is really that, although he still has some items he's working out with you guys, making sure mitigating how traffic plan affects both the elementary school and the most high school, that we didn't have specific concerns with the that like bus route entrance, that they are putting a traffic light at the main intersection, and yeah, I think that's it.
I just want to add, there's no public comment submitted and there's no one signed up to speak at the moment. Mhm.
Yeah, any other questions? Okay, with that, thank you. We'll just, yeah. So, is there anyone in the public that would like to add any comments to this? No? Okay. Any motion?
Oh, sure, yeah, I will make a motion for area variance number 159. And to approve the grant.
Second. Sorry, I heard you about Gary. Martha? Yes. Paige? Yes. Adriana, yes. That's, for, yes, so that's all in favor, so, area variance 0159 is granted, allowing for 64. Yeah, second. Motions on the second area variance.
And I'll make a motion to approve area variance number 160 to allow for a 4-story tall building with maximum permitted is 3 stories.
Second. Paige, have you vote? Yes. Martha? Yes. Adriana, yes. That's all 4. Area variance 0160, allowing for a 4-story tall building is granted. Thank you. Okay, the second project for today is project measure in the first line. It's project number 00390.
Thank you. Presenting for Habitat for Humanity, Daniel Hirschberg from Hirschberg and Hirschberg. I apologize, he couldn't make it, but I guess he trusted me to present the project here. This is something that Habitat for Humanity is not voluntarily doing. We're forced into requesting variances due to unknown high tension power line across the property. We go on to the next slide, it shows the area. The yellow area is the area that we're building. And it was formerly part of the Albany Housing Authority's parcel. And Habitat for Humanity acquired it. And National Grid, although they put the pipe in there, or the conduits in there, never acquired an easement. So that when we were given the title search, went out to survey, nobody knew was there no markings on it, no structures over the top of it, switch gears or transformers over it, so it was a hidden line. And we knew that there would be an electric line along the curb line, certain lights. Nobody knew about this line. Next slide will show the location there. That's when we dug the line, we found that the line actually interfered with the placement of the buildings, and National Grid requires clearance from the closest conduit to the closest point of your structure, a minimum of 10 feet. So obviously, not only could we build the buildings, we couldn't honor the additional 10-foot separation. Next one shows, this is the trench. We started to dig the trench, and the street line cables were there, the sidewalk was there, and that was located. We know about that, and that was located. And the next slide showed what we found while we were excavating for the start of the foundations. And they're quite a bit back from the back of the sidewalk. Like I said, we knew there was a power line up in the sidewalk area because that's where the light standards were. And there was no evidence of this power line at all. I think shows the code requires that we no more than 10 feet. That's the maximum setback. And that's how we had the original building set for 10 feet back from the road. But unfortunately, we couldn't build. I think the next slide shows where we propose to move the buildings back. That's, the intermittent red lines are where we've actually excavated and located the main. Our survey crews around located it. And you can see that right to 10 feet back requires us to greatly exceed the 10-foot front setback. So we don't think existing character in the neighborhood will be impacted by that because there's not a neat straight line of buildings in there. Any road takes a curve as it goes around to the northwest. And consequently, it won't be obvious to anyone that we're breaking with the road at all. So I think that's why this will not impact the character of the neighborhood at all. And next one talks about considered. The only consideration was given to could we get National Grid to relocate the main beam, and they built it without an easement. And that we tried to do unsuccessful because a claim was built with the IDR complex, and they needed it to provide power to IDR complex, which was owned by the Albany Housing Authority. Moving the power lines would be very expensive. If National Grid won't pay for them, the applicant will have to pay for them. And I've worked with National Grid many times about relocating power lines. First of all, they're not anxious to do it. Secondly, it becomes very expensive. They're the cost of it. My favorite one is we did the Mohawk Harbor in Schenectady. We had to relocate two major Magmar power lines at a cost of $2.5 million. So that opened my eyes to how expensive it can be to relocate major power lines for National Grid. Of course, they were a lot longer than this, but order magnitude, it would have been a very expensive proposition. Next is the substantiality. It fit. Obviously, the design would have worked better if we could have kept it 10 feet. We'd have a larger rear yard, more useful. Or the rear yard did have slope to it in any event, but it would have been more beneficial to have it. Meanwhile, the lots are large. They're not, small townhouse type lots. So essentially, we don't think that it's a substantial impact. Numerically, it's substantial, but we don't think it's substantial from the standpoint of it. Anyway, next would be impact on the environment. We don't think there's any impact on the environment. The fact whether it was a 10-foot line all the way back, we don't think there's any impact. And finally, it is self-created because we have to ask for it based upon the fact is the power lines are there and you can't get them. So, to ensure the success of this project, modification must be made. We were totally unaware of that line there, and it's quite unusual for National Grid to install anything without getting proper paperwork from anybody. It's probably the first time I've seen it. Even putting a lateral, if you were building your house and National Grid had to put an underground line to your house, you'd have to sign an easement, even though it was like private property to serve your house. National Grid always tried to protect their properties with easements that can be recorded, and this one, for some reason, nobody thought it necessary. So It is self-created technically, even though we obviously didn't want to create this one. I think that might be the end of my slides.
Mhm.
The clerk has any questions?
Yes, Mr. Hirsch. Thank you, Mr. Hirsch. Any questions?
I think so that go to the county planning board.
I believe so, and they referred to us to local action, which includes planning, or planning board.
It does, it will need, I think, the planning board approval, and I'll just, require administrative approval.
So, can we look at the map? That one.
Right, yeah, yep.
So the lines highlighted in pink in the map shown here, is what you say has been dug out, but I'm assuming it's not broken up like this. It's a
No.
continuous line all the way across.
It runs all the way across. We just located. We didn't uncover the entire route of it. We uncovered enough of it so we knew where it was running.
Yeah.
And there are actually multiple conduits, and that's why there are two purple lines that goes into one purple line, but the conduits do come closer together. But there are multiple 4-inch diameter conduits, which are good sized conduits filled with high tension electric lines. We originally thought we'd be able to go them closer. National Grid sometimes gives you variances to go closer, and they said no, because it's high tension. If they were to hit it, or somebody digging around their house, they're trying to start with something. If they hit it, they would be in trouble.
And so those lines are themselves like about 10 feet from the property, the front of the
They're
property.
actually about 14 feet, 14 or 15 feet from the front property line. And meanwhile, so consequently, to be 10 feet clear, we have to be back further.
Okay, and so there's the variances each has slightly different asks.
Yeah.
Is the project, all the project proposes the properties to all be on one line together, or are they staggered?
We actually, because the line does get closer, we moved it up at the south end of the site where it was. The alignment there, I'm not sure whether or not is, I can't read the dimension back there, but I think
The closest one would be 20.29 feet.
Yeah.
So they brought up essentially as close as they could, while still maintaining that 10-foot distance.
we're able to move it up a little closer, but not substantially, but we took advantage of it.
So it's pretty much 10 feet from the line for each of them.
Yeah, it's 10 feet from the closest point of the conduit. The closest point of the building is actually the footing underneath the building. So the footing is about 6 inches from the front of the wall. So we had to provide that much clearance.
Sure.
And it's the same in all three of them, because the line moving to the south actually gets a little bit closer to the roadway. We're able to stagger the buildings. So they won't all be on the identical,
So some of them are going to be.
a little bit closer. Yeah. But they all require variance because they're all more than 10 feet. So that's why we need 6 separate variances.
Was there a consideration of making them all on one line, even if that means going further than the 10 feet for some of that, maybe? So it means making them all to the greatest
Yeah.
setback, but
Number one, the one on the south is where the rear lot line gets closer to the street anyway. So we wanted to preserve as much rear yard as we could. So moving it up was the logical reason. We don't think there's many points where people are going to be able to line up and look down the line. It's not like we're on the street line. If you had one on the street line and 3 feet back and 4 feet back, it might be more apparent, but these are back quite away from the street. So I don't think there's a point where people are looking at lining up that they're not on the same line.
Can you show up the photo of that? I think there was one that shows the street.
I could bring up map geo, just like you could see the landscape, like the parcel.
This is fine.
Okay.
So, and I see that where you're saying that like the back of the parcel comes in for like the parcel is not as deep on the right side. than
That's
on the
correct.
left side.
On the south side, it gets narrower by about 10 or 12 feet. The depth of the parcel gets narrower, which means to keep as much rear yard as we could. We moved up to the maximum 30, close to the national grid that they belong.
Understood. Can we
And
go?
I think there's a variability between the buildings on the left of us and on the right of us. And I don't think it would be that apparent that we're doing anything that's not consistent.
And I guess it's kind of at an angle from the properties that are further up, that are to the left on this map. I guess it's more in line with the properties to the right, but
I don't know if this is the best description, but it's a pretty hilly parcel.
Yeah.
So if you see on like map geo, the elevations are different depending on where you are. So I think when you're just seeing a static like this, it looks like it's uneven, but if you actually see the landscape or the elevations of the parcel, it is a little clearer.
You mentioned there's some slope at the back to the property.
Yeah, there's quite a deep, there's about 12 feet of grade between where the front of the building was and where their property was. So, we're going to expose more of the foundation at the back so that they're more useful, but essentially can't really see it there, but I guess, if you take a look there, that the grade does go down to the back. You can see, and that one you can see how it's quite a bit lower. And that, our plan was always to expose a little bit of the foundational and back, so we have some steps out of the rear so that we can make better use of the rear yard.
can you go back to the map here? This is huge. Yeah, I understand the information. I think I just kind of want to get a better understanding of. So like the first steps. So from this map, I guess I have a hard time telling.
Yeah.
If like, are the buildings in the middle further set back than the ones on, each side, or they kind of?
The one on the left-hand side of that, the north end of the site, it's further back in the road. One in the middle who gets a little bit closer to the road, and one on the right on the south side of the site. It's the closest to the road, so they are staggered up.
Coming closer, okay. And I
you can see
think
those
that's,
contours going down the side, each one of that is a foot difference in grade. You can see there's 6 or 7 foot difference in grade going down the depth of that building. So in order to have some level in the backyard, you wanted to keep that the building on the south side of the building.
and I think that allows that kind of gradual moving allows to not have an issue of shade, right? Like if the one in the middle was the one that's a further setback, then it would be more shaded.
I don't think visual going down Manning Boulevard will be a noticeable difference between them, but people notice they're not up on the roadway, but the buildings on both sides of us aren't up. They're close to the roadway either. They're one on the left, on the north end of us is further down.
Thank you. I think my only other question is Habitat for Humanity working with National Grid to set up easements for these lines, or?
We are going to grant them an easement so that they can have the right to leave their wires there that are currently there. And I think we're going to ask them to put actually, you've seen sometimes where they have posts for gas or electric. It says, it's just identifying posts. Gas are normally a yellow post and electric are a red post. I think we're going to ask them to put identifying folks that both ends of it, so alert somebody that there's something there, so homeowner decides to allow to do something even more alerted to it. And there'll be, these things are actually going to be sold, so each fee will actually be that easy when we get that.
And I think there's actually a provision of the general business law, 765, that there's a requirement for notification of utility lines or national grid.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate to say it, but Magna Power Corporation is an easy company to deal with, and since we became National Grid, first we had to go to Syracuse, then we had to go to Pittsfield, then we had to go to Boston, and now a lot of decisions are made on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. Some of these decisions, this project had to be considered all the way back in London before they let them go ahead and allow us to go and treat it. They didn't have any rights to one at all, but they had to get clearance from London.
Yeah, if I were them, I would want that easement.
Yeah, but you know, it becomes highly difficult to to do. They used to have builders and engineers in place, right down on the Broadway. Or in, or in plans, that down what they want to do. So, but once I'm shopping, you know exactly what you had to do right now. It's like chasing your tail. I don't want to criticize them, but they're a monopoly, and I guess they can do what they want. Well, but why is electricity? I don't have much choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the rare occasions where arguably, yeah, this is a self-created difficulty, or it's not a self-created difficulty.
Now, they created it, but you know, technically, we're the people asking for the variance. So I guess if somebody says technically it's self-created, you're the people asking for the variance. But we weren't the people who created the problem. They have to ask the variance.
Yeah.
Move that area variance 162 be approved.
Second. Sorry, we vote, yes. Martha, yeah, Dave, yeah, Adriana, yes, but, four in favor, so area variance 163 against.
Like, move that area variance 163 be approved.
Dave, we vote, yes. Martha, yeah. Serena, Adriana, yes. That's all four in favor, area variance 163 granted.
I move that area variance 164 be approved.
Second. Serena, votes. Martha, yes. Dave, yes. Adriana, yes. Area variance 164 is granted.
I move that area variance 165 be approved.
Second. Page, yes. Martha, yes. Serena, yes. Adriana, yes. All four in favor for area variance 164. Granted. Oh, but
I move that area variance.
Hold on, can you just say that again? Area variance was granted.
yeah, area variance 1 that is granted.
Thank you.
I move that area variance 166 be approved.
Second. Yes. Right. Yeah. Serena?
Yes.
Adriana, yes. Area variance 166 is granted.
I move that area variance 167 be approved.
Okay. Yeah, yes. Martha, yes. Page, yes. Adriana, yes. Area variance 167 is granted unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Did they mention that type 2 or no? I don't know.
Thanks. Go back to that.
What's in that one?
Was that?
Would this not work?
Oh, no, this is part of it. I was asked, yeah, I was at Glendale on Monday, I had work yesterday, here today. So that's what I'm, Friday I'm off, Saturday I'm off, and Sunday I'm off, so I only have 4 nights a week at least, so. And I didn't have any double up, sometimes I used to have double up meetings where I used to have to get 2 or 3 of them at the same time. Right now, they're all at 6 p.m., so I can't really do it. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Yes, 2 minutes. As about the board members, we did the meeting minutes, any motion or any comments, edits to the minutes?
August 23rd.
Any motion?
I move to approve the minutes from August 23rd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after that, yes, with all in favor, so motion. Thank you.
Second.
One back, yeah. Which, yeah, Being adjourned.
You just say the date and time that the meeting was adjourned.
What?
Just state the time for the record that the meeting was adjourned.
6:44.
Thank you.